Once upon a time, a farmer carried 2 clay pots from the well. One was perfect and proud. The other was cracked and ashamed, convinced its flaw made it useless. This story asks a difficult question. What if your greatest weakness was actually your secret strength? What if the very thing you're ashamed of is creating beauty you can't even see yet?
Every morning, the farmer began his walk to the well with a wooden stick across his shoulders. The 2 pots hung from either end of the stick, each with a very different experience of the same journey. The perfect pot arrived full every time, while the cracked pot arrived with only half its water remaining. The perfect pot would sometimes boast about its flawless performance. It would say how good it felt to do a job well and to be completely reliable. The cracked pot felt a deep sadness, watching the water slowly escape through its crack. It heard the drops hitting the dry earth and felt each one as a small failure. It compared itself constantly to the other pot, seeing only failure in its own nature. The perfect pot was smooth and whole. The cracked pot felt its rough edges and the thin line that ran along its side. This routine created a pattern of shame that grew heavier with each trip. The walk to the well became a time of dread. The cracked pot would look at the ground, hoping the farmer would not notice its slow and steady loss. But the farmer never said a word about the leaking water. He never scolded the pot or showed any anger. He simply carried on with his task, day after day. The cracked pot's internal conflict built with each journey. It wondered why the farmer did not just get a new pot. It felt like a burden, a thing that was not good enough. The perfect pot seemed to shine in the morning light, while the cracked pot only felt its own brokenness. The contrast between how the pots functioned and how they felt inside created the story's core tension. One was confident and whole. The other was filled with a quiet sorrow that no one else could see. The farmer's silence was a mystery. He treated both pots with the same gentle care. He placed them on the stick with equal attention. He carried them back to the house with the same steady pace. But for the cracked pot, this kindness only made the shame feel sharper. It could not understand why it was not cast aside. It believed its flaw made it unworthy of such patient treatment. This feeling of being a secret failure grew until it became too much to bear. The pot knew it had to speak, to confess what it saw as its fundamental mistake. It had to break the silence that was weighing it down.
After many days, the cracked pot could no longer bear the silence. The weight of its secret shame had become too heavy. It mustered the courage to speak to the farmer, its voice filled with sorrow. The words came out slowly, trembling with the sadness it had held inside for so long. "I am broken," it confessed. "I have a hole. Every day I lose half the water." It believed the farmer's hard work was being wasted because of its flaw. It saw the long walk to the well and the effort of drawing the water as a precious gift, and it felt it was spilling that gift onto the ground. The pot expressed its confusion about why the farmer never scolded it. It had expected anger or disappointment. It had prepared itself for rejection, but the farmer had only shown quiet patience. This moment reveals the depth of the pot's feeling of worthlessness. It had internalized its flaw as a fundamental failure. It was not just a pot with a crack. It saw itself as a failed pot. Its entire identity was wrapped up in this one leaking crack. It could not see any value in itself beyond this single leaking crack. The pot spoke of its shame directly. It said it felt ashamed of itself. It asked for forgiveness, believing it had caused a great wrong. The farmer listened patiently, without interruption or correction. He did not rush to offer comfort or to explain. He simply let the pot pour out its heart. He gave the pot the space to be completely vulnerable. This compassionate listening was a gift in itself. It was a safe place for the truth to be spoken. The pot's honest admission became the turning point, opening the door for a new perspective. It was the necessary first step toward transformation. The pot had carried its burden alone for a long time. Now, by speaking its truth, it had shared the weight. It had allowed someone else to see its brokenness. And in that sharing, something new could begin. The silence was broken, and in its place was a chance for understanding. The farmer's calm presence was a quiet promise that things were not as the pot believed.
Instead of agreeing with the pot's harsh self-judgment, the farmer smiled. He looked at the pot with a gentle kindness. He did not rush to speak. He let the silence hang in the air for a moment, a soft and patient silence. He acknowledged the pot's feelings without confirming its negative beliefs. He understood the sadness. He heard the shame in its voice. But he did not see a broken pot. He saw a pot that was simply different. The pot expected confirmation of its uselessness. It had prepared for the farmer to nod and say, "Yes, you are a problem." But it received unexpected kindness. The farmer's eyes were calm. His voice was soft when he finally spoke. He did not try to fix the crack or deny its existence. He did not say the crack was not there. He did not say it did not matter. He accepted the crack as part of the pot. It was simply a fact. He simply asked the pot to pay attention on the walk home. He said, "On our way back, I want you to look carefully." This request created curiosity instead of condemnation. The pot was confused. It had expected a lesson about its failure. It had expected to be told to try harder. But the farmer was asking it to observe. He was redirecting its attention away from its own interior flaw and toward the exterior world. The farmer's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the pot's inner turmoil. The pot was filled with a storm of sadness and doubt. The farmer was like a still pond. He was not worried or angry. He was completely at peace with the situation. This peace was a quiet reassurance. It suggested that the pot's understanding of the world was incomplete. He invited the pot to observe the world from a different angle. He asked it to see what it had been missing. For all those journeys, the pot had only looked inward, at its own leaking water. It had never lifted its gaze to see the path it traveled. The farmer's guidance shifted the focus from internal flaw to external impact. This redirection of attention was the first act of reframing the flaw. It was a gentle nudge toward a new way of seeing. The farmer did not give an answer. He gave an invitation to discover the answer for itself. He trusted the pot to see the truth that was right in front of it, a truth it had been too sad to notice.
On the return journey, the farmer gently prompted the pot to look. He did not rush. He waited until they were walking back toward the house. Then he spoke in a soft voice. "Did you notice?" he asked. "Look carefully at the side of the path where you travel." His words were simple and calm. They were an invitation to see something new. The pot had been so focused on its own leaking that it missed the entire landscape. For all those days, it had only looked down. It had watched the water drip from its side and fall to the ground. It had listened to the sound of its own loss. It had been a prisoner of its own sadness. It had never once lifted its gaze to see what was around it. For the first time, the pot looked up. It saw the vibrant flowers lining the path on its side. The flowers were small and delicate. They had petals of soft pink and bright yellow. They nodded gently in the breeze. They were alive and beautiful. The pot had never seen them before. It had walked this path every day and had been blind to this beauty. These flowers were not there at the beginning of the journey. They started to appear a little way from the well. Then they grew thicker and more numerous as they got closer to the farmer's home. They appeared consistently along the route the cracked pot traveled. Every few steps, there was another cluster of flowers. They dotted the side of the path like little points of light. The pot then looked across to the other side. The perfect pot side of the path had only bare earth. The ground was dry and brown. There were no flowers there. There was only the dust from the road. The contrast was clear and simple. One side was full of life and color. The other side was empty. The visual evidence was undeniable and beautiful. The pot saw the line of flowers that followed its path. It saw the barren ground that followed the other pot's path. It began to connect its actions with an unexpected outcome. The water that leaked from its crack was not lost. It was watering the earth. It was giving life to these flowers. This moment of observation created the possibility for a new understanding. The pot was not just losing something, it was giving something. It was creating something it had never known was there. The farmer had asked it to look, and now it was finally beginning to see.
Then the farmer spoke again. His voice was gentle and clear. "The flowers were only on your side of the road," he explained. This simple statement held a deep truth. It was not an accident or a coincidence waiting to be discovered. It was the result of a quiet and deliberate plan. The farmer had always known about the crack in the pot. He had known from the very first day he carried it. He was not surprised by the leak. He was not disappointed. He saw the crack not as a flaw to be hidden, but as a feature to be used. He had a different way of seeing the world. He saw potential where others saw problems. He had deliberately planted seeds along that specific path. He chose the side where the cracked pot would travel. He knew the water would drip slowly and steadily from its side. He knew the earth would be watered day after day. He prepared the ground and placed the seeds with care. He knew exactly what would happen. He was not trying to fix the pot. He was working with the pot, just as it was. The pot's flaw was not a secret failure, but a known feature. The leaking water was not wasted effort, but intentional nourishment. The farmer's work was not being lost, it was being transformed. The water was not disappearing into the ground, it was feeding the roots of the flowers. It was giving them life. The crack was the very reason beauty could grow in that place. Without the crack, the ground would have remained dry. Without the steady drip of water, the seeds would not have sprouted. The perfect pot could not do this. It held all its water inside. It gave nothing to the earth along the path. Its perfection made it unable to contribute in this unique way. The farmer's revelation completely inverted the pot's understanding of its value. What it saw as a source of shame was actually a source of life. Its weakness had become its unique strength. The flaw was redefined as a purposeful contribution. The pot had spent so long feeling broken, now it saw that it was not broken at all. It was simply designed for a different kind of purpose, a purpose that required its particular shape. The farmer had seen this purpose all along. He had been waiting for the pot to see it too.
The cracked pot's entire self-perception shifted in that moment. It felt the quiet click inside, like a key turning in a lock. What it saw as a source of shame was actually a source of life.
The sadness that had filled it for so long began to drain away. In its place came a new feeling, a feeling of quiet wonder. It had to let go of its old identity as broken. That word had been its name for itself. It had worn that name like a heavy coat. Now it had to take the coat off. It had to embrace a new identity, one it did not yet know. Its weakness had become its unique strength. The very thing it had tried to hide was the thing that made it special. The perfect pot could never create this particular beauty. It was designed for a different task. It was good at holding water, but it could not water the flowers. The cracked pot saw that its own design was perfect for a different purpose. It was not worse than the other pot, it was just different. And this difference was a gift. The farmer's awareness and intention made the transformation possible. He had seen the potential in the crack from the beginning. He had not tried to change the pot. He had changed the environment around the pot to make the crack useful. He had worked with the pot's nature, not against it. This showed a deep wisdom. It showed that value is not always about being without flaws. Sometimes value is about how your flaws can serve the world. The pot's value was not in being perfect, but in being useful in its own way. It realized that its worth was not something to be earned by being whole. Its worth was already present, just misunderstood. It had been useful all along. It had been creating beauty with every step. It just had not known it. This new understanding brought a profound sense of peace. The internal conflict was over. The war with itself had ended. The pot felt a lightness it had never known. It was no longer fighting its own nature. It was accepting itself. This acceptance completed the emotional arc from shame to self-worth. The pot was finally at home in its own clay. It could now make the journey to the well without dread. It could hear the water drip and know that each drop was a small blessing, a gift to the earth. It had found its purpose, and in finding its purpose, it had found its peace.
The farmer's final words offer the ultimate lesson for us all. Your flaws are not obstacles to your worth. They are not things that make you less valuable. They are opportunities for unique contributions. The world needs many kinds of pots. Some are made to hold water perfectly. Others are made to water the flowers along the path. Remember this story when you feel imperfect. When you notice a crack in your own clay, do not despair. Know that you too are watering flowers on your path that you cannot yet see. Your journey is creating beauty in its own quiet way.